most public conversation about what needs to change in our society focuses on politics, on who holds office, on which new policy might bring improvement. These debates feel important because they are visible. Yet beneath the visible world of elections and laws runs a deeper and more decisive system, the way money itself is created and circulated. The force that drives political and legal outcomes is itself the monetary system. Almost all money today is created as debt. When banks issue loans, they create new money that did not exist before, already carrying interest. This means there is always more debt in the system than money available to repay it. The only way to keep functioning is to create still more debt. This is both a fatal flaw as well as how the system was designed. Since individuals, businesses, and governments depend on this debt-based money, the institutions that control its creation gain enormous influence over nearly everything else. Political decisions, corporate behavior, and even personal choices are shaped by the constant need to service the debt. This financial layer, this invisible debt interest engine, does not need to give direct orders. It manipulates what it considers most advantageous to maintaining monetary control of the resources that sustain the economy, not the least of which is the resource known as an individual's time and energy. Regarding this most precious and sacred resource, this predatory system by design incentivizes extraction and short-term thinking while making long-term coherence appear impractical, if not impossible. When we argue only about which political party should manage this arrangement, we are largely debating within the terms the financial system has already set. If we look at how this system has developed since the establishment of the Federal Reserve central banking system in 1913, a consistent pattern emerges. Since then, the world has moved through global wars, economic depressions, nuclear weapons, accelerating ecological strain, and widening inequality. A structural thread runs through these events. A financial system built on continuous debt creation and the demand for perpetual expansion. This system generates constant pressure for growth and extraction. Over time, those pressures compound. What begins as manageable debt becomes system fragility. What begins as a localized problem becomes global in scale. At this point, the breakdown is not approaching. The wreck is already in motion. Political systems have grown increasingly brittle under these pressures, often captured by the same financial interests they were meant to regulate. When both major political parties operate within the same debt-based logic, meaningful opposition becomes difficult. The House is no longer simply divided. It is structurally aligned with the continuation of the system generating the problems. Recognizing that the breakdown is already underway changes the nature of responsible action. It shifts the focus from trying to prevent collapse to reducing its damage and preserving what is worth carrying forward. New forms of value exchange that are not built on perpetual debt and extraction cannot stop the larger momentum. What they can do is lessen the depth of the damage. They can protect relationships and value exchange capacities that would otherwise be lost. They can create pockets of coherence that survive the impact. One approach involves citizens using existing constitutional tools to assert greater control over how value is created and exchanged. The U.S. Constitution provides a path through Article 5. 2/3 of state legislators can apply to Congress to call a convention for proposing amendments. Once called, any proposed amendments can be ratified by 3/4 of the states, either by state legislature or by state ratifying conventions. This process is state-initiated and decentralized by design, making it uniquely suited to a networked cyber-citizen-driven solution. This is where a cyber-based, citizen-driven meta-party enters the picture, a decentralized autonomous organization, or a private membership association, or a combination of both, built to unify the fragmented 80% or so of those who feel politically and financially disoriented. This can have a huge impact on changing outcomes, regardless of party affiliation or geographic location. It would not replace or negate existing party ties or local identities. Instead, it would serve as an essential additional tool to activate real change, operating in both traditional and emerging political arenas at the same time. Unlike traditional political parties with deep vested interest groups, donation-driven dependencies, and obsolete geographic constraints, a meta-party begins entirely in the digital commons. It is the political expression of what has been called the network state, a cyber cloud community that aligns online first, then extends sovereignty into physical space when ready. It is not a third party, but a cloud-first alliance of independent citizens, awakened to the unprecedented power that network communities have to drive real change. Because it is borderless by design, a meta-party can rapidly assemble the decisive swing vote in any legacy democracy without ever forming a conventional faction or platform. Its leverage is simple. Whoever defines the narrative determines the outcome. The meta-party's founding act would be to drive the proposal and ratification of a transformative constitutional amendment with two basic statements. First, every citizen's time and energy, their life force, is recognized as their sovereign and legal property and capitalized debt-free as the source of our nation's currency, a current that directs the flow of our value exchange and wealth creation. Second, any economic or financial system that exploits a citizen's time and energy or harms the biosphere is deemed unconstitutional. Successfully driving an amendment such as this would accomplish two goals. It would assert the power of the cyber commons to direct constitutional change, and it would dismantle predatory financial capitalism, which is the root of political and corporate corruption. Commerce, for the first time, would flow from regeneration rather than exploitation. Operating exclusively in the cyber commons, the meta-party has the potential to unite across ideologies, generations, and even nations, those who choose peace and planetary stewardship over unsustainable and predatory institutions. It turns the internet from a polarized battleground into a coordination layer for humanity's next constitutional movement. The meta-party is not another political party. It is the citizens' opt-in governance layer of the network state era, an alignment powerful enough to rewrite the laws that govern value, currency, wealth, and even power itself.